when we examine the record. How is this anyone else's fault?
Well, first of all, Chris, he's standing up. I am gobsmacked that the Republican establishment has gone off and identified itself with identity politics, which is, I've said in my piece this morning in the American Spectator, which is the grandchild of slavery and the child of segregation. There's no place for, as President Kennedy liked to say, race has no place in American life or law. Donald Trump is taking these people at their word. They have for years tried to inject race into the law. If you recall, Justice Sotomayor said that she was a quote unquote wise Latina, and as such could make better decisions than a white male. And everybody in the liberal side thought this was just terrific. This is wrong. So Donald Trump is simply picking up their banner here and saying, if this is what you believe, then, and this judge is going to act in this fashion, then he should be off the case. That is exactly right. And the Republican Party.
Anna, the question is, do you believe that Donald Trump has made any good offer of what the judge did in this case that would prove the bias?
Of course he hasn't. And the place for him to do it, if he was going to do it, is to do it in a court of law. He can definitely file, to ask that the judge recuse himself. He's not. What he's trying to do is bully this judge in the public, using the public pulpit. And the way he said it, when you watch that Jake Tapper interview, and go watch it, folks, if you haven't, the way he says so despectively that he's a Mexican. I mean, you treat a dog that way. You wouldn't even treat a domesticated pet the way that Donald Trump talked about that judge. Go take a look at Arnold Schwarzenegger's Twitter feed today, where he stood up for that judge. That judge was appointed by Arnold Schwarzenegger in 2007 to the state bench in California. That judge was confirmed unanimously by the U.S. Senate. This is not an activist judge. And by the way, Jeffrey, if you don't think a white Latina can make a better judgment than white men, girl, let me just tell you, you haven't met enough of us girls.
Well, there you go. There you go, Anna. Right there. That is exactly the point.
Absolutely. We are proud of our heritage, the same way you are proud of yours, the same way that Chris Cuomo, Mario Cuomo, Antonin Scalia were proud of theirs. Are you telling me that Antonin Scalia could not make a good judgment because he was the child of Italian immigrants from Sicily? Are you telling me Antonin Scalia could not make a good judgment because he stood with Italian-American organizations? Are you telling me he couldn't make a good judgment because he stood with Catholic organizations? We are a fabric in America. We are a melting pot.
All right, Anna, let him respond.
Our heritage. Neither you nor Donald Trump are direct descendants of Pocahontas, so you can stop right now saying that heritage, that race, that history are not part of our society in America. They are, and it is what makes America great again. Donald Trump wants to make America hate again.
All right, Anna, open dialogue is also part of what we're about. Jeffrey Lord, please respond.
Anna, if Justice Scalia belonged to the White Attorneys Association, he would never have been on the bench, nor should he have been. Race has no place. This is the problem, and you have illustrated it exactly.
To the White Attorneys Association, Jeffrey, he was Italian-American.
He was white, Anna. He was white.
From Italy, and incredibly proud of his heritage, spoke about it continuously.
That is disgraceful. Anna, this is exactly the problem. The Republican Party elites have imbibed this racism from the Democratic Party, which has been pushing this stuff for 200-some-odd years, from slavery to segregation to racial quotas to illegal immigration because of skin color.
All right, Jeffrey, you made that point.
It is morally wrong.
You made that point, and I read your piece. People should do it as well. Jeffrey Lord has a whole piece about this. You can read it. Here's the problem. You're talking about the theoretical. This is about the practical, an actual case, an actual judge, an actual record. That Trump says he's pointing to but doesn't seem to exist. That's not me saying it. That's Trump's own attorney. Listen to Counselor Petrocelli and what he said about this.
I believe the charges against him have no merit, and he will testify, he will tell the truth, and the jury will decide the case.
You had said you have no plans to ask the judge to recuse himself. Can you talk about that?
The judge is doing his job, and we're not seeking to recuse the judge. We're trying to assert our rights, and I think the court today did a good job of trying to balance out competing interests.
One of the most respected counselors in the country just said there are no grounds to move to recuse this judge. The only decision in this case that has been worthy of scrutiny is not the disclosure of those playbooks, which are all over the place anyway and not zealously argued against by the Trump team, but continuing this case. Jeffrey, what a favor this judge did to Donald Trump, continuing the case and not having those lawyers all over the airwaves right now. Where do you see the bias?
The bias is in the group that the judge belonged to, which is all about, it's not about lawyers in San Diego, it's about Latino lawyers in San Diego. There's where the bias is. The California Supreme Court handed out a decision a year ago that said that judges in California couldn't belong to the Boy Scouts because it discriminated against gays. You've got a group here that is all about discriminating against non-Latino lawyers. He is a member.
You know that's not what the group is about. You know that's not what this group is about. You're talking about a scholarship that you believe this judge was connected to that went to someone who was an undocumented immigrant.
Right on the website.
And you're saying that that's proof that he is therefore biased against Donald Trump. How do you connect the dots?
Because he has taken a stand on illegal immigration. He gave a scholarship to somebody who broke American law to be a lawyer. Donald Trump has a very
but you just heard from your own lawyer.
I mean, the crime of that judge, to give a
But Jeffrey, hold on, Anna, hold on a second. You just heard from your own lawyer who said, we don't think there are any grounds to recuse. Now, the bigger question becomes this, Anna, for you and the people who are against this, which is, let's be honest, Jeffrey, a longer list than we expected. Do you think this is going to matter? Do you think that this is not just baked in with the voters about who Donald Trump is, and frankly, as many may like this about him as dislike it?
I think it is going to matter because, look, I think for a lot of us, we thought maybe he was, acting a part during the primaries. Maybe he was saying all these, spewing all this venom and just playing the role of Donald Trump in The Apprentice, Donald Trump the bully during the primaries. But come the general, he was going to become a bigger man. He was going to talk policy. He was going to be inclusive. He was going to be a different person, make that shift that is often made between a primary and a general. I'm glad he's doubled down because he is showing us that the Donald Trump, the detestable Donald Trump we saw in the primary is the same Donald Trump we are going to see for the next 5 months. In the last 4 weeks since he's been the primary winner, we've seen him with the debacle about the PR agent when he played his own PR agent. We've seen him with these racist remarks. We've seen him with the tax return he's not going to release. This is the same Donald Trump, and I think it's been a wake-up call for so many Republican leaders who thought maybe if we stay silent, maybe if we look the other way, for the good of the party, we can't criticize our nominee. But I think that now there's been a wake-up call where Republicans realize that if they don't speak up, if they don't wake up, if they don't make it known and clear that Donald Trump does not represent all of us and represent Republican values, then that's where the party is at danger of dying.
Jeffrey, you're shaking your head.
The party, as Anna is describing it, is abandoning Abraham Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, and Jack Kemp, and there's no place for it. There's no place for race in the Republican Party or in America, period. End of it.
You know something, for you to compare Donald Trump to Abraham Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, and Jack Kemp really is just too much for me on an empty stomach in the morning, Jeffrey.
It's part of the Republican Party, and you want to abandon it?
Yes, and tell you what, I have been a Republican a hell of a lot longer than Donald Trump has been. I've been a Republican since I was 8 years old. I've been a Republican since the first day I became a U.S. citizen. Donnie come lately is not going to give me lessons on Republican values, and he is definitely no Abraham Lincoln.
Final word, Jeffrey.
All I can tell you is the Republican establishment has now sided with identity politics. All of those folks that you mentioned, Speaker Ryan, Senator McConnell, Marco Rubio, what in the world are they thinking? There is no place for this in the